Welcome back to Cricket for Americans, the place where Nick resides. Nick here.
Gabe, the Night Watchman.
Man, he just ignored that. And Gabe and I were checking out another Patreon request. That's right. It's so sad. All IPL fans, we are so sorry to hear it's been postponed right now. We are crushed about it, but CFA marches forward. And it gives us a good chance to revisit some Patreon requests that maybe have gone a little stale because we haven't gotten to them. We got a Patreon request here from Parikshit D, and he says, "Dear Nick and Gabe, would you please react to this great video?" And so that's all he gave me. I looked at the video, and it says, "What is it like to face pace? Cricket batting demonstration." Oh, now, complete honesty, I would love to be able to be man enough to have that cricket bat and to face some serious pace. The likes of Cummins, the likes of Archer, right? But I'm just going to say I'm only going to do it if you guys can promise you're not going to hit me. You promise. I'll try to see if I can get like a little sliver on there, but promise me you're not going to give me a bouncer in the head because that's going to scare the you-know-what out of me. And I know these guys take these bouncers off the body, but doesn't mean I have to. Gabe, what do you think it would be like to face some pace?
Why don't you ask Piers Morgan what it was like to face Brett Lee, bro? What are you, nuts? You know what I'm saying? Like what are you, nuts? Are you kidding me? Bro, let me tell you something. As you get older, your timing goes off, your skill goes off, okay? It happens, all right? I don't like even stepping in against Trey. At 14, 15 years old, Trey's a pitcher. So I'd go out there to the field with him and, just have him working on his location and zones. And it helps to have a live batter in the batter's box. I don't like catching Trey anymore. I definitely don't like sitting in against him, bro, because and Trey recently got clocked for high school. He's at 83. He's 83 miles an hour. That's still not pace. Like these guys are throwing 90 plus or whatever in the major leagues, 94, 95. Bro, if it hits you, oh my gosh, it hurts, bro. People tell us all the time, listen, when you guys go out there, use a tennis ball. Do not use a cricket ball because the game's gonna get wheeled out into the emergency room or whatever. I am not looking forward to it. And my nephew, Bernay, who plays college ball, said the hardest thing about cricket is the bounce because you got to read it off the ground. Ask catchers how easy it is the ground does funny things to the ball. So, the trying to avoid it, you know what I mean, from that trajectory, those nasty bounces. He said, Uncle Gabe, that would be a nightmare because in baseball, I can track that ball from the air or whatever. But getting it off the bounce, you don't know which way it's gonna break. It's a skill that is severely underrated. I'm not making light of it, but listen, Phil Hughes took a bouncer and it cost him his life. Okay, my man Smudge at the Ashes against Jofra Archer took a bouncer, and people say he's still not right after that. You know what I'm saying? Like India right now is starting to recover, but ask them about the facing pace. All right, Muhammad Shami, broken arm, right out there in Australia. Versus was it Patty Cummings that broke his arm? I can't remember who was it from the Australian team that hit him with that bouncer. But guys, trust me. When we're talking about pace and they're talking about 140, 135, 138, 141 kilometers, that cannot feel good when it hits you, cousin.
No, absolutely not. So that's what I was saying. Like, if they can promise my safety, then I'll see if I can get, a little bit of wood on there. But if they can't promise that, then I can't promise I can show up. But that's why these guys are the best at what they do, these cricket players. We're going to check out this video and see what it's all about. This is from Sports Stuff. Hopefully Sports Stuff does not mind us checking it out. If you like what you see here, don't forget to do that right now before you forget, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you know when we have new videos coming out. Let us know what your thoughts are. And with all that being said, let's jump into this in 3, 2, 1.
Now, what television doesn't really do is show the pace of the game. Now, that's the same in cricket or Formula One cars going up Eau Rouge or even the pace of the greens at the Masters. So, do you remember a tennis ball incident at the Oval a few years ago? Cameraman Hussain, can you get just...
Cameraman Hussain.
You're going to show us how quick this is. And Nass is going to put a camera on his head and we're going to fire a tennis ball at him at about the pace that Mornay Morkel goes and try and convey to you as it whizzes past his nose just how quick it is.
I mean, the key thing in the game is that in the history of the game, fast bowlers have won test matches. You go right back to the Demon Spofford in 1882, Larwood, Bodyline, Bradman, Jeff Thompson, Tyson in '54, the great West Indies bowlers, Mikey and his mates in the '80s. Fast bowlers win test matches, and that's why they're so important.
Nice.
Whilst Nas gets ready, let's just look at the reaction times. This is what Cook has to deal with. Less than half a second to see the ball, what's it doing, where's the seam, get in a position and play the shot.
And it seems almost impossible, but you have to remember that that is what he is trained to do. He has done this for 15 years. He will have been in indoor schools like this with the bowling machine cranked up to 90 miles an hour. I have to say, I was extremely lucky because in this very indoor school when I was 17, Peter Lever, who was the then Lancashire coach, had a school of fast bowlers, and they came steaming in, bowled off about 17 yards. And I'm not sure I faced anything quicker, actually, in my career later on. So that step up, every time you step up a grade, it's the pace of the game that is more difficult. And for me, going into first-class cricket, I was incredibly lucky because I'd had a couple of years in this indoor school against some hot young fast bowlers from Lancashire, and it made my transition that much easier.
One of the best players I saw in the modern game of playing the short ball was Ricky Ponting. Nash, you got a monitor down there?
I have, yes.
Do you remember this delivery, the pace of Harmison to Ricky Ponting? One of the best players who can pull shots, getting cleaned up. Are you ready?
I am, without a helmet.
Without the helmet. Now, what we're going to ask you to do is just keep your head still just for a moment, and let's hope this goes past your outside edge, and we'll try and convey the pace of Mornay Morkel. Not quite as tall, being me, but slightly moving your head. One more. Now, I suppose when you're facing a fastball like that, your head isn't as still as that. We're just trying to convey how quick it was.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously trying to keep still there for the camera at the moment, but at 88 miles an hour, I wouldn't keep completely still. It's like when you're returning a tennis serve, 120 miles an hour. They don't just stand there like that. They're moving, aren't they? They're getting their feet moving, getting trigger movements in. I would get a trigger movement in early to get into position. Otherwise, everything is happening at the last second. I wouldn't want to be completely still. You look at Cook, you look at all the best players, I reckon they have a trigger movement. Even Ricky Ponting there had a trigger movement onto the front foot and to pull off that front foot. So I wouldn't be that still. Bowl a few more and I'll try and play a few now. Try being the key word.
You were, weren't you?
Those are some of your best shots.
Bit straighter.
Yep. Bit straighter.
Cover the jewels.
Hang on. So at any point, are you thinking about your movements into the shot, or is it exactly what Athers has said, training yourself in an indoor school or in the nets to just react?
I just react. I mean, the difference in here is you've got tennis balls. There's no seam movement. Look at the legs. Your legs are bigger than the legs on that bowling machine, to be honest. Mornay Morkel is a lot taller. There's a lot more bounce. And actually, the tennis ball slightly slows down here. Sean, let's have a few short ones. The other thing is here, there's no fear factor at all. Everything is set up for top of off stump. There is no fear factor. One thing I feel in here batting is, could you imagine facing Alan Donald, Shoaib Akhtar wearing this flimsy thing? The helmet must be one of the biggest adjustments for batsmen ever. I would not want to face a quick bowler with this. Let's have some short ones.
Slightly shorter. Oh, and wide.
Ooh.
That was...
Whoa, we've had that before. I've seen you in that position before.
He's not even messing around. He's like, I got a duck.
That helmet thing, though, just bring Ath in here. That helmet thing, I mean, that's the game changer, isn't it, in terms of, you know, Ponting, one of the best players I've seen, getting smacked in the face. All right, little cut, but he's okay.
You go to the Mikey Oval 76 there. This is Chris Balderston, I think, or maybe Bob Woolmer. No helmet, cap. Massive difference. David Steele.
Guys are men.
So it's changed things in a number of ways.
way.
The point Nasser makes is a very good one. The lack of fear factor. You know you can't, you're not going to get killed or whatever.
Against
with
the
a
Four
helmet
Horsemen?
on. I know there's been the odd tragic instance, but generally not. And the other thing that's it's done is change the way batsmen play. So you see Ricky Ponting, he's coming forward at the bowler. He's looking to hook off the front foot. Back in the day, before helmets, batsmen were generally back and across. So if you think about the fundamentals of that, it's changed the game absolutely, because now the batsman is the aggressor. He's coming at the bowler. Pre-helmet, it's the bowler who's coming at the batsman, and the batsman is on the defence. So it's actually switched the game fundamentally.
I mean, there's nothing like, so we've got Flintoff here charging in at Jacques Callis. There's absolutely nothing like watching this sort
Jeez.
of battle in a test match, is there?
Jeez,
No, there
seriously.
isn't. And there's a fear factor for the batsman when you're in these scenarios because the guys, their ability to bowl that quick, it puts you on the back foot and no one's comfortable. You learn.
You want no parts of that.
As was saying, you learn how to deal with it through the years of practice and practice.
Jeez.
But when you're in that
I
situation,
mean, talk about
you
trying to
are
get comfortable,
fearing
right?
for bodily contact.
Oh,
You think to yourself,
wow.
he could
Thank
hit
Blasted
you.
that stump.
And at some stage, you actually think about, well, if I get out here, it's not the worst thing.
But
Get out
their
here,
bowling
it's not
attack is not dissimilar to this.
Absolutely.
They had a bowling attack. Now, Sean was quick, but they had one bowler in Donald that challenged your ticker with pace. You better have some seriously good ticker. And another that challenged your technique. Absolutely top of off. This attack, until today, has had someone in Morkel that will challenge your ticker. You can't lunge at Morkel, and they've had someone like Philander that will challenge your technique. It is a very deadly combination.
How much do you have to make it
Love
you
it.
against the other bloke at the other end?
Well, that
Oh,
is the
gosh.
contest, isn't it? It's a team game, obviously, but an individual game. Essentially, you're there with a bat in your hand on your own. The guy's got a ball in his hand. It's you against him. Who's going to win the battle? The other thing I'd say is, I mean, you're trained to do it, but you do pick up little things that give you a head start. There are some bowlers that you just get a sense of what they're going to bowl, whether it's the position of the wrist, the position on the crease. You pick up little cues, and that
Tipping your
half a
pitches.
second that you mentioned, the 0.46 of a second, you do just get sometimes a bit of a head start.
Pub chat, fastest you've ever faced, Donald?
Donald, Shoaib Akhtar, Brett Lee were the three quickest I faced.
Brett Lee.
Brett Lee down doctor in Perth. When that wind blew in, Brett Lee down doctor.
Leon actor, an actor on the subcontinent surface, nightmare, contact.
I don't know about you, David, but I reckon this fella might give you a few nightmares down the years. Ooh, dear me, well played.
He said a few nightmares. Oh, yes, 4 horsemen. You can't mess around with that. Interesting how they both, 2 of the 3 said Lee in their top 3 fastest they face. I mean, that guy's a savage. You mentioned Pierce Morgan. Oh, man.
That's why when you're like, if you could promise, I guarantee you, Brett Lee, Chris Marcus, producers, the host, like Brett Lee, we're just gonna have a little fun here. Yeah. I was like, oh yeah. You're not gonna beat up. Did that look like fun? Bro, he beat him up. I was like, oh my
Okay,
god.
but maybe Pierce Morgan take them off. Okay. I've done nothing to you, Brett Lee. We love you, Brett Lee. But if I went in there in the nets with Brett Lee, would I be a moron because I solid to Pierce Morgan and he was like, "Oh, that was some of my easy stuff. What are you talking about?" That was so educational. I'm not going to claim that I understood every single thing there, but I love what he was talking about, the trigger movement. That's so awesome, just to loosen up, just to get your body ready, to get your mechanics right, to where you have like that split second to react. Like, okay, I can recognize the seam, there's a swing, the seam, whatever it is, and I can go for it. I love that tutorial. I love the fact that we were able to see the camera there, the ball going, and how he was like explaining, like, normally I wouldn't keep my head straight, but I'm trying to for the camera. Excuse me. And that was machine where you didn't know where the ball was going to go, somewhere wide, somewhere not, somewhere a bouncer in his head. I never thought about as a batsman, especially with the non-helmet days, I never thought as a batsman how, yes, I know these guys are fast, but how that speed and how that bounce, and you have like a split second to react where you can't think about protecting your body. You got to think about defending the wicket before anything else. I never thought about how quick it was where they had to react. And then you see these guys who were able just to put off these impressive innings. It gives me a little more clarity. It gives me a little more understanding when I criticize a guy for not going for a 50 or not going for a 30 or whatever. It definitely puts it in perspective for me.
Well, I mean, what it does is here's the thing. Much like baseball, right? You don't have a lot of time. Like, honestly, the reaction time is even the same, right? In baseball, you got half a second to make up your mind whether you're swinging or not. That's why guys look so bad sometimes, Nick, when they take these swings, because they're really trying to read it out of the pitcher's hands. And a lot of them are guessing. Is it a breaking ball? Is it a fastball? You know what I mean? Here, is it going to be a Yorker? Is it going to be a full toss? You've got, like they said, half a second to make up your mind. Half a second ain't a lot of time, cousin. So you've almost got to come in with a plan, which is why, especially sometimes you see these guys trying to do like a reverse sweep. They had planned to do that already. That was in their head. It's not like they read it. Oh, I'm going to do it on this ball. So yes, it's an incredibly difficult thing to do. The one thing I did find interesting, and I hadn't thought about before, was that he mentioned how as you've been playing for a while, since it's all on instincts and reaction, you start picking up on the nuances of bowlers, right? You almost know what they're going to throw before they throw it. I still contend that some of the bowlers I see that have good stuff but that get beat up, they telegraph almost what they're going to do, right? Excuse me. And in baseball it's the same thing, right? Because we call it tipping your pitches, right? The guy knows what's coming before it comes. Maybe the way you hold your glove, maybe the way you pick up your leg, and I'm talking about in baseball. Here, maybe the way your run up is, maybe the way they see your wrist coming out. If they see the back of your wrist, you know what I mean, or if they see the front of your wrist, whatever it may be, and you're trained to look for those things because any little advantage of telling you what that ball is going to be that they're bowling, or in baseball what that pitch is going to be, it's advantage hitter. You know what I'm saying? If hitters knew what was coming, at least in professional baseball, if a hitter knew what was coming, which is why the Houston Astros cheating scandal was so huge, like literally it'd be almost impossible to get these guys out. A real professional major league hitter, if I know what pitch is coming every time, forget steroids, forget anything else, that's the big advantage there is. And I would contend it's the same thing in cricket. If the batsman knew the line that the bowler was going to bowl every time, if he knew if it was a full toss or a Yorker every time, then I'm telling you, Nick, bowlers would absolutely get destroyed. And I read an interesting article that said, is the Yorker no longer the best weapon in the death? Why? Because and it's true, every single batsman is looking for you to throw those Yorkers in the death. And if you're not executing them, they're going to get crushed, cousin. All right? Because a Yorker's a bad ball if you're not executing it. So is it now that the batsman is expecting it, and if you're not good at executing it, you know what I mean? It was, I think I read it on Crick Buzz. Has it almost become a detriment to the bowlers now that try to throw these Yorkers and can't do it and absolutely get crushed? Ngidi, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. I still think the Yorkers are deadly and they're still devastating. But as we see in other sports, we always think about baseball. We always talk about that. Other sports as well. Every new generation is better and better. They just are, because they have so many more things at their disposal. They have so many more things to look at and to be trained on and all that kind of stuff. They're just better athletes and better players. So you would think over time, adaptation, they'd be able to adapt to that ball. I still think it's a dangerous one. I still think it's deadly, but you're right. The last few months, we haven't really seen too many devastating Yorkers that have really been a difference in a match. And we haven't seen a lot of guys, especially the death in T20, even attempt those Yorkers. I'm curious why that is. That's a really good point. Let us know in the comment section what you think about Gabe's question about the Yorker. That was fascinating. That was an exciting watch for me. Thank you, Parikshit, for that. Thank you for your support on Patreon. Thanks to all of our patrons. We appreciate you. We appreciate our viewers. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time.
That's 6 runs.